Theories or mechanisms of tooth eruption. Eruption is a multifactorial process. That is why numerous theories have been proposed, but none of them explains the process completely. Here, we will be discussing the four most known theories of tooth eruption: bone remodeling theory, root formation theory, vascular pressure theory, and periodontal ligament traction theory. Among these, the most accepted theory is the periodontal ligament traction theory. Let's begin with the first theory, the bone remodeling theory. This theory says that removal of bone from the crown side of the tooth is crucial for the eruption of the tooth. Osteoclasts remove bone above the crown and the osteoblasts deposit bone below the forming root. For example, let's say a developing deciduous molar is erupting. According to the theory, osteoclasts will cause bone resorption above the crown. This will give space for the developing tooth to move occlusally, and then the osteoblast will deposit bone beneath the radicular portion of the tooth. The strongest evidence in support of this theory is a series of tests done on the dental follicle of a developing tooth in animals. As we know, a developing tooth germ has many parts, in which dental follicle is a portion which forms the cementum, periodontal ligament, and the alveolar bones surrounding the tooth. These studies show how presence of dental follicle is important for tooth eruption. For example, a study done on animals showed that if the developing tooth is removed with intact dental follicle left behind, the dental follicle still erupts. So, just like the previous example, if we remove the developing molar, the dental follicle will still erupt. Then another study showed that if a silicon replica is replaced in place of the developing tooth, it still erupts. So, if we remove the developing molar and then replace it with the silicon replica, the replica will then erupt into the oral cavity. Another animal study then showed that if dental follicle is removed, no eruption takes place. Thus, if the erupting molar is left behind but the dental follicle is stripped off, in contrast to the previous studies, the tooth will not erupt. Also, it has been shown in animal experiments that deficiency of osteoclasts causes failure in eruption. These all experiments suggest that the power of tooth eruption is not in the tooth but in the dental follicle or the surrounding bone. Now, coming to the second theory of eruption, that is the root formation theory. According to this theory, formation of root applies pressure on the bone below, which pushes the tooth occlusally. Now, according to this theory, there is a ligament located at the base of the tooth socket from one bony wall to other like a sling. This ligament was called as the cushion hammock ligament. So, just to explain, this is what a hammock is. And the theory says that a ligament like this is stretched below the forming root apex from one wall to the other and forms a firm base. The forming root pushes itself against this ligament and thus erupts occlusally. This ligament was called the cushion hammock ligament. But this theory has many disadvantages. The obvious shortcomings were like there is no firm base below the root. Then the so-called cushion hammock ligament actually does not exist. Some teeth move a greater distance than the total length of the root. Eruption movements occur even after root completion. And lastly, experimentally stopping root formation does not stop eruption. Now moving to the third theory of tooth eruption, the vascular pressure theory. According to this theory, teeth move in synchrony with the arterial pulse. Local volume change can cause tooth movement. It has been seen experimentally that increased hydrostatic pressure caused by hypotensive drugs increases the rate of eruption. Finally, coming to the last theory, the periodontal ligament traction theory, which is also the most accepted theory. Now, it is known that periodontal ligament fibroblasts have the ability to contract and transmit a contractile force to the collagen fiber bundles. Fibroblasts are in contact with each other to permit summation of contractile forces and then transfer them to collagen fibers. Collagen fibers can then contract simultaneously. Thus, according to this theory, it is the periodontal ligament fibers which by contraction pull the tooth out into the oral cavity. The fact that the collagen fibers, that is, the oblique fibers, are inclined at correct angles to bring about the eruptive movement is in favor of this theory. Now, it is known that oblique fibers are the most abundant fibers. Experiments have also supported this theory by showing that drugs that interrupt the proper formation of collagen in the ligaments also interferes with tooth eruption.